Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Israel Brief, brought to you by Lay of the Land. I'm Rolene Marks, your host, bringing you the top stories from Israel and surrounds every Monday to Thursday right here on Facebook or on our YouTube channel. You can find us at the Israel Brief, and we would love it if you click on the big red subscribe button. But let's get into the top stories because that's what you're here for. And we begin with the incredible announcement that Prime Minister Netanyahu made last night on I-24 News. He announced in an exclusive that Israel is working with Russia to try and recover the remains of famed spy Eli Cohen. Many of you might have seen the story on Netflix called The Spy, which tells the story about Eli Cohen and his subsequent execution by the Syrians on May the 18th in 1965. And to date, it is still unknown where he is buried, and his family most certainly want his remains home so he can be buried with dignity. But an incredible announcement, the Prime Minister announced that the Russians are busy looking for his remains, and in a comment earlier today, it has been claimed that an item has been given to Israeli authorities for checking. It is unclear what this is. It could be an item of clothing or a document or something, but the intricate details of this so far have been kept under wraps. But this is news that we've been waiting for since 1965, the whereabouts of Eli Cohen. As the Prime Minister reiterated, we don't want to leave anybody, a soldier, somebody who has fallen in defense of Israel in whatever respect, behind, but rather bring them home for a dignified burial. And while we're talking about people who have fallen in defense of the state of Israel, we also can't forget Oron Shaul and Hadar Golden, whose remains are still being held captive by Hamas in the Gaza Strip. In other news, and the good news as far as the COVID-19 pandemic continues in Israel, with news from the health ministry saying that the rate of serious infections has dropped significantly, that now they can consider lifting more restrictions. This could mean increasing the amount of people that are allowed to gather and lifting restrictions on other places where there are still minor restrictions in place, such as the amount of people who can come back to an office building. I think many people are keen to get back to work with their colleagues and leave the home office for at least the near future. In other news related, the Transport Ministry have said that they will open up for flights from 4 cities: Moscow, Rome, Athens, and Addis Ababa. These will be limited flights. Now, we don't know if limited means the amount of people on a flight or the amount of flights per week, but that is the latest from the Transport Ministry. It was also announced that Brazil are the latest country to sign an agreement with Israel on vaccine research and development, and that follows the Austrian and Denmark and Hungary and Czech Republic, who have been speaking to Israeli authorities about the vaccine, the rollout, and how to deal with the pandemic. And the African country of Eswatini, which was formerly known as Swaziland in the south of the continent, they have become the latest country to appeal to Israelis to help with their vaccine strategy and rollout. And members of Israel Aid, an Israeli NGO, have flown to the country to help with efforts there. Now, funny enough, we are just a couple of weeks away from the next election. It's starting to become a real occurrence here in Israel, so we haven't been giving that much coverage. But very interesting to note that the diplomatic corps serving abroad have started casting their votes. New Zealand will start tonight. Bahrain and the UAE and other places in the region, they will start as well. And this is all the build up to what is now the 4th election in 2 years to be held in Israel. And will the deadlock be broken? Well, the latest stat, at least 29% of the country don't think so, and think that we might be headed to elections in a couple of months' time as well. Well, we hope to break this trend with this last election. And just looking at the latest polls, Likud and Yesh Atid have made significant gains. However, Gideon Sa'ar's New Hope party have fallen in projected seats. So those are the top stories making headlines today. Don't forget to check out our content online on our website at www.layoftheland.online. We are very pleased and proud to feature an excerpt of Sarah Ansbacher's book, A Passage from Arden. What's it all about? Read it online. It's an incredible encounter, and it also gives you a little bit of an idea of what you can expect in her book. It's also on our Facebook page at Luttel Site. If you're there, please give us a like or a follow. We are growing our community and we would love you to be a part of it. Don't forget that you can subscribe to our YouTube channel at The Israel Brief and interact online with us on Twitter at Lay of the Land 5. So with the Wednesday edition of the Israel Brief, I'm Arlene Marks, wishing you all a safe and healthy rest of your day. We'll chat again tomorrow.